Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to another DraftKings DFS Slate breakdown. On the agenda this video, we have the first set of games for UCL, like this playoff system, knockouts, like play in to like the real Champions League. So basically, it's just a two-game tie for the teams that finished in like the second kind of group of qualified, not like the top teams like Liverpool who get like a bye. But basically, all I need to know is that it is a two-game tie, and on these first couple games, we have a three-game slate with Juventus being the biggest favorites at only a -110. So pretty close set of matchups across the board. I kind of like that it's a three-gamer. I think that 3 to 5 is kind of the perfect size for these classic slates. I think any more becomes like in GPP, especially a little bit more of a lottery. And if it's a little bit less like a two-gamer, it becomes just a bit of a chalk fest. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. In terms of projected lineups and set pieces for Sporting and Dortmund, it should be a Kenda and Trincao split double lefty. Interestingly, they have Gyökeres back in the lineup. He's been dealing with an injury the last couple of weeks. He's been coming off the bench, hasn't started in quite a bit. So that's a little thing to keep an eye on. I don't know if he's going to be 90-minute fit if he does start. Who knows if he starts at all. So we'll see there. And then for Dortmund, their sets are just a complete mess. Kovac, Kovac is settling in still after Sahin got fired in terms of what they were doing for sets. But Gross at times, Brandt at times, Bensebaini at times, Rierson. I think Gross is probably the most likely. Ended up taking over their last league game. My worry there is that they lost at home. He was pretty inefficient with his crossing, ended up like 2 from 12 successful, which is just not great at all. When he got subbed, Rierson ended up taking a couple. Brandt, I think, also took one. And yeah, like I said, Bensebaini's taken in past weeks. Like, who really knows what they do here? It's just a bit of a mess for Juventus and PSV. And this team, I think it'd be a Douglas Luiz monopoly. They have no Koopmaners in there. If Koopmaner starts, it'd be a split probably, with him being the left-footed option, then Luiz and Yildiz being the right-footed option. If there's no Luiz, Yildiz should have a share of sets. I like that a lot more, just from a DFS perspective. He's just a lot more appealing of a player. And then for PSV, it should be a Veerman monopoly. Man City and Real Madrid now. I think City probably do a De Bruyne Foden split. Chance it's like a De Bruyne monopoly. Also, like a sliver of a chance that Savinho ends up having Foden's share. He ended up splitting with Marmoush over their FA Cup game against Leyton Orient. Of course, De Bruyne and Foden didn't start that game. For Real Madrid, in this team, it's probably Rodrigo Monopoly. There's a chance that Ceballos ends up taking a couple, and they don't have Modric starting. If Modric is in, he's kind of the most likely guy. That's just another thing to keep an eye out for lineups. Pricing now. I think you'll notice a trend right away is that pricing is very much centered around this Man City Real Madrid games. Like all of like the top like 5, 6 guys are mostly from Man City Real Madrid for forward, except for Gyökeres as the exception. And you got like midfield, the same thing. Foden, De Bruyne, also like Bellingham. And then defender a little bit more loose, but you still see mostly Real Madrid there. So because of that, there's going to be value in every other team on the other games. Like if pricing is pooling at the top around like Man City, Real Madrid, you're gonna get like cheap guys for value elsewhere. But first, just go price or player by player, sorted by price, high to low. And I'll just talk about a few things. Like I think for cash, in terms of these pay up forward options, you could really make an argument for anybody. Holland, Mbappe, Vidi, they're all fantastic players. Rodrigo a bit lower down. For sets, he'd probably be the best for pound price. At 9,400, if he ends up having the monopoly lineup with no Modric. But you also got guys like lower down from the other games that are cheaper, like Girassi, Savinho. In that Man City game, he's probably the exception to that rule of Man City Real Madrid players being more expensive. In terms how I would start construction for cash. You can try to cram like an Mbappe and Vinny Jr., Jacques even. He could pick up some steam because he's just one of the best forwards in Europe when healthy. So there's definitely plenty of ways to go. But you can, I think a very common route as well will be just going one pay up like Mbappe or Vinny or Holland, and then going down here. Like in terms of this mid range, there's some really juicy options like Yildiz. If there's no Douglas Luiz, I'd be super tempted by Harder. If there's no Gyökeres, who's been super solid for Sporting as the backup. Savini I talked about, Girassi I talked about, both super nice options for their prices. You got all these Juventus guys, biggest favorites on the slate, and they're all like 6K. Kolo Muani, he's been a phenomenon since they signed him on loan for PSG. He's got so many goals. Two on the weekend, played 90. He's keeping Vlahovic out of the team right now. Like, I don't really see a world where they start Vlahovic over Kolo. I think you'll either see them both up top together, which I think is pretty unlikely, or just Kolo Muani as the main guy and Vlahovic kind of as a player on the outside looking in. Like, I really like Kolo Muani here. Conceição's got a great floor. Nico Gonzalez just a solid player as well. Like, Juventus are so cheap here. Like, I almost love the idea of double, like, paying down at forward, get some more expensive midfielder options to pick from instead. But yeah, you can make an argument for kind of any combo of these forwards. There's just so many ways to go here. It's what makes this slate so fun, in my opinion. So yeah, other guys like the big thing is Juventus cheap Sporting guys like Yildiz. I miss Trincao too. Another potential set piece taking option at forward. And I like that as well. He's been pretty solid when playing, typically a 90-minute guy. So yeah, I'm in love with this like 5 to 7K range. And of course, always got the big guns as well. It's just whether you want to eat that salary there. Midfielders, similar to forward, good options all around kind of at every price range. In terms of the top guys I like, of course, Foden. De Bruyne feels underpriced at 8,800 compared to like a lot of the other pieces who are all like 12K-ish. 8,800 seems like a steal for me. So I'm happy kind of building around De Bruyne at midfield likely. Options he has monopoly, sets at the very minimum, split at the very minimum, I mean. So I love De Bruyne here. Foden, I don't mind at all either, 10,200. Those are kind of the big guys I'm thinking about. I don't really love Bellingham in this spot just because he doesn't have the floor to typically match your De Bruyne's and your Foden's. You're playing him for upside, which that Man City game could very well end up being 3-3. I just like to have a stronger foundation. Let's call it for floor guys, just because they're starting more on like a 10 than like a 4 or 5 that Bellingham will get in floor, and they have similar chances of getting goal contributions. But for GPP, I don't mind Bellingham. And then I think there's a lot of value here. Once again, in that 6 or 7K range or cheaper. Joey Veerman, Monopoly set piece taker, was phenomenal against Liverpool. I know it was a weakened Liverpool side who didn't really have anything to play for, but even so, you're getting guaranteed 90 minutes, taking every set piece, and just gets points. He finds a way. Juventus is not a team to be that scared of. I know they're the biggest favorites, but even that's only minus 100, and they're not going to dominate like your typical favorites will do. This game could end up being kind of cagey, kind of end to end. And either way, I'm happy to get to Veerman here. He probably is my second favorite mid after De Bruyne. You could even make the argument that he's better than De Bruyne for price. Like he's the only true monopoly that we can kind of see likely on this slate. So yeah, I'm all in on Veerman. And then you got your cheaper options. Brandt, if you want to gamble on him having sets. Same thing for Gross. Modric, if he starts, that's there. Kenda, super solid as well. Gross, probably most likely to take sets for Dortmund. Just you worry that if he doesn't, he'll just not really do much. He's not got a ton of utility in terms of open play. Like he's kind of corners or nothing, which is a bit of a worry here when we're not exactly sure if he will have them. Gundogan is cheap as well. And then you've got like Koeman, 4,500. If he starts, that's a cheap set taker. I know he hasn't been great for upside, but he's been slightly better in the league. Like I think 4,500 could very well just be worth the risk. Same with Douglas Luiz, who's like the same thing. And you got like Ceballos at 4K. I don't mind at all either. So there's definitely ways to go here. There's plenty of mids kind of at every range, just like I was talking about. I love this slate. Then defender. This is where things get kind of ugly. Like there's a ton of really fun, interesting guys to go at midfield and forward. Then you go to the defender, and that is just not the case at all. None of these teams have a set piece taking defender, really, other than Dortmund, if Rierson takes. But that's not a given or anything. And there's just not a ton of floor really across the board. Like there's Fran Garcia who's okay, but 5400 is steep. That's my kind of thing that I don't love there. And then Ben Spiani is actually out, which I knew, but I kind of forgot about. He's in projected, but he will not play. If that's the case, some things they could do is this new signing Svensson could start at left back. They could move Ryerson to left back and then bring in like Gross there. This guy's too expensive for me. I don't love that at 4900. And yeah, Rierson, I think his value also goes down slightly if he's at left back. And then let's just start from top to bottom again. Like a lot of the top defenders are out. Koto could end up starting too. And this is Gavardio. Like this is probably the best defender for upside here. You never really know where Man City are going to deploy him. Like even in this formation, you can't tell if he's going to be playing way up the field or like dropping back a ton and having Nunez invert or something. Like I think of that game against Arsenal where it was a Gavardio goal assisted by Nunez because they were super attacking, and then the very next game in UCL against Club Brugge, Gavardio barely broke half, and there's like the same lineup too. So it's just you can't really tell with them. He was awful against Brugge. So yeah, that's a volatile option there, and it's just not a ton. And it just makes me just want to just go to Rierson. You never know if he'll take or not, but if he does, he can have like that crazy game like he did against Shakhtar, 16 and floor. Then worst case, you're getting probably just a meh fullback. They have him like as like center back sometimes, but I doubt he really plays there even when they have him on paper. He'll attack basically as a fullback, even as like a center back in a back three. So I'm just going to Ryerson here as my favorite defender. And other guys, you like Savona, sure. Karsdorp if he plays, sure. I'm really fine with kind of any of these guys. There's not anything super eye-popping here. Malassi, a new PSV signing from Man United on loan. That could be kind of interesting. So yeah, not a ton of standouts here. In terms of a core, I think you just go Rierson just because not a ton of options at defender. And then I think you go De Bruyne, Veerman, and call that a day. There's a lot of different lineup constructions here. You can go like Mbappe and then another cheap guy to pair him with. Let's just throw in Colomwani for now. Like that's a perfectly viable route to start your build. Then you go and like another Coop Mainers or Douglas Luiz or something in the utility, and then you're rolling. Or you could just end up saying, screw that, I'm going double pay down. I'm just gonna put in Chico Conceição for now and go like a Foden or like a Rodrigo in the utility spot. You can really build from a lot of different ways with this start here. So that's how I like it. All right, guys. Make sure to check out the FSI Discord through the website linked below. There's a ton of slates going on at this time. You got this UCL slate, the Man City Showdown, EFL Cup, FA Cup, showdown, a championship classic slate all at the same time. I cover every single slate. It's gonna be a lot of fun, very chaotic for this Tuesday. But yeah, guys, that'll be it, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.